what Richard said to us, your problem is you got the wrong date for the election. And that stayed with us. And when Santa Monicans for Renters' Rights eked out a majority, one of the first things they did was change the date of the election from April odd years to November even years. And they have, since the day they changed it, which was in the early 80s, of all those 2-year cycles, they've lost the majority. I mean, we're probably looking at, 30 elections since that day. Again, even year November, in which renters do vote. But renters, Santa Monica was a city with 80% renters.
Yeah.
All right? They didn't have any, they always thought their mayor was Tom Bradley. They didn't know anything, or they knew less than the homeowners did about local elections. So the turnout in Ocean Park, where I lived, which was a renters community, was 16%. That turnout has gotten as high as 60 to 80% because we changed the date.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a mechanical issue. They are changing the date for municipal elections in Los Angeles. This will be effective in 2000.
Oh,
I
really?
think. Yeah, in 2020
Yeah.
to even year November. That is going to change the sort of chemistry, because you're going to have more voters, and it's going to force politicians to be more accountable.
I mean, obviously, too, there's so many other mechanics to it that would be helpful, like making
vote by mail,
vote on a weekend, or days off, a national holiday for elections. It is hard. It's hard to keep track of all this information. It's hard to understand who your local people are because they're not in the news the way, national candidates are. So, I'd like to see all of that.
Well, a big topic on the show today has been getting people out into the streets. And obviously everybody in this room knows, but some listeners may not know, we do record the show here in Los Angeles. And this weekend, today, actually, we are honoring 25 years since the LA riots.
Yep.
Talk about getting people out into the streets. And this was, as for those who are on the younger side or ignorant or thinking, wait, what did OJ do this time? No, this was a response to, was it 5 police officers?
No, I think it's more than that.
But getting acquitted for the beating.
Oh, the ones that were,
Yeah. I mean, the problem is systemic.
But there were more cops there than 5, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
But I think only 5 were tried.
Yeah.
But they were acquitted of beating a black motorist, Rodney King, and LA blew up. I am the only person in this room or on the panel who wasn't in LA for the riots. So just briefly, because we were talking before the show, Tymon, you were in the Valley.
I was in Santa Monica.
Ernie and Erika were both on the west side.
Yeah.
I was in Missouri, so I was way out of it. But thoughts on not so much what it was like, but how far have we come? Obviously, things have gotten better in LA, but as we've seen with a lot of regional, national, and local cases with the police beating and killing unarmed suspects, we do have a way to go. But have we has the needle been pushed? Have we really made any moves in terms of improving policing and police community relations?
Well, I would say one big step in the right direction is in the technology and in body cameras.
Yeah.
And that's really having a very positive effect, not only just in terms of having evidence of what happened, but apparently it's really changing the way police officers act in the situation and it's changing the way people who are confronting police officers act in the situation. Like it seems to be diffusing tension in a way that's helpful. I mean, obviously the problem is much larger than that, but we didn't have that then. I mean, remember that video, too? I mean, at that time, it was kind of crazy that somebody had videotaped it, that somebody had been there with a camera to
this
videotape.
before everybody had cell phones.
It was the first one where we actually saw what was happening. It was it was mind-blowing at the time. And I think people forget, how significant that was to have that evidence just played back over and over and over again for something that we all sort of sensed was happening.
Well, Tymon, as the angry black man, self-designated for the week.
I still say it comes down to race relations. I still say that I don't really, you can get a lot of cameras, but it's your thoughts. It's how you approach a situation. Do you talk to your community? Are you involved in your community? Quit pulling your guns all the time, shooting these guys. I understand they're criminals. I've been working for probation for 27 years.
Yeah.
I deal with murderers, rapists, gangbangers, pedophiles, you name it. But I don't...
Republicans?
I have never had to just thoroughly beat somebody for the hell of it. We try to talk. We try to... You have to get involved. And people, like I said before, if you're not going to talk about race, you can get all the cameras that you want. You can get everything you want. You're going to have to deal with people. We're all of different cultures. We're a huge melting pot. Nobody wants to talk. Nobody wants to be involved because they're afraid someone's going to blame them for something. Well, guess what? You got a big open wound in this country that has never healed.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to deal with it one way or another. Okay? You got, I don't care if you're dealing with gays, I don't care if you're dealing with whatever, but race is there and it needs to be dealt with. And even with the cameras, you can't get the video because the cops are still going to hold on to the video and not going to actually show you, even though the camera's there. I mean, because Beck is going to protect this guy. How many of these cops are being said? Because a lot of these guys, the first thing they do, they're taught to shoot.
No, listen, man, I am not saying that
I didn't
things
say
are better.
that.
Because he was just asking, like, what improvements have we seen since then? And I was looking for a positive. But absolutely, we are still sitting on top of a powder keg of race.
Right. And you're also still dealing with discrimination. You're still dealing with all the issues that are involved. So you say, well, hey, you look at what you have to also look at the why. Why did that happen? Why did and why was this allowed to happen? And so, race, always involved, smack dab in the middle, and everybody's standing there and they're wailing on this guy. And then the first thing that they do, well, we need to take this and move it out to Simi Valley. Okay, you just cut your throat. You just you brought something because you didn't want to deal with it. Then you say, well, wow, they let OJ walk. Well, because of what they've watched you do. And then the media, they helped. The media helped pump this all up. I don't think what happened, when you see all these different things that happened in that situation, do you know how certain people got out that you didn't see in the news? The situation with Reginald Denny and all that. There were blacks who helped those particular white people get out of there. They say, hey, man, you're not going to sit here and just beat people because we got a bunch of idiots running around and start things happening.
How did it wind up in Simi Valley? Was that where the incident took place?
That's where the trial was.
No. My point is, how did the trial wind up in Simi Valley?
Because they felt that they weren't going to get a fair trial if it took place in L.A.
I got it. Okay.
And so what did you do? Who lives in Simi Valley? At that time, Simi Valley was a very popular place to live. Cops live in Simi Valley. Sheriffs live in Simi Valley. You always, and then, I'm sorry, and you have to always look at history. If you look at the 65 riots that happened in L.A. and everything.
65 was Watts?
The Watts riots. If you look at that, who was the battle against? Black folks and cops.
Yep.
Where we are again? Black folks
and cops. Yep.
You don't want it to be. And so you say, well, what has changed? If you go back to that certain areas, Magic Johnson went through that whole Crenshaw area. They brought in different industry. But from 92, before that, you couldn't get industry to come in there.
Yeah.
Okay? But you couldn't get them to build anything. But yet, who's coming back to that particular area? Because that's called basically the Black Beverly Hills, Ladera Heights, and all that. White folks are coming back to the area that they left because they were going to Orange County. Now you can't afford to live in Orange County, so where you going? Regentification is coming back.
Right.
Black people are pissed now because guess what? What they work for, you're moving them out. Jordan Downs, which was another area which were, they're spending now probably about 50 to 100 million into Jordan Downs project area, which was considered gang not anymore. Here come the Starbucks.
Yeah.
Here come everything else. Guess what? Regentrification. Now those people, you're telling them that was living in that area, they can't live there. Here comes the stadium. You say how things changed. That whole South Central area. You got the Inglewood.
Right, where Hollywood Park was.
Yeah, what's coming? The stadium is coming. Value of homes are going up.
Yeah.
Taxes are going to go up. Black folks got to move. Can't afford to live there.
Now
but things are changing.
Here's an interesting question, and judging by the Rams' performance this season, we don't really need to worry about this. But we do have we're about to have 2 football teams in LA. The stadium is going to be completed in 2018. I think they're saying,
or something 2020. I don't know.
Yeah. Definitely in
One
time
of
for
those
the Olympics if we get them. Yeah.
But everything is about 2018 and 2020 at this point.
And the NFL draft is going on this weekend, which raises the question: Are we going to see if we do by some chance, if the Rams or the Chargers can pull it out? Are we going to see more riots in LA if we do happen to get a winning sports franchise?
Well, the Raiders didn't come, so guess what? You
that's going to be Vegas'.
The Raiders had to come down here, then you'd have different. But they're going to be close by. They're going to be in Vegas.
In Vegas, right? Yeah,
but no, I don't think you'll see. Hopefully, you won't see any more riots. It's just that you can't just shoot. You got to get involved in the communities. You got to get in there and talk. You got to have education for everybody. I mean, I'm sure you guys paid attention that Alabama wants to move their school kids out of a certain area and just to where they can be. Yeah, but guess who they're keeping out? Well, you don't want to intermingle with them, so you say, oh, we're going to move the group. You can't do that. You gotta. We're a melting pot. And you got to have education for everyone. Yeah. You got to talk community. You got to get people involved. You got to get the police departments in there and talk to the people, because you got to build that trust, as well as the sheriff department. They got to get back in there.
All of this goes back to like politics on the local level.
Exactly.
I think,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess this is my gong to bang this morning, because I really feel, local, micro elections, small elections, community boards, education, board of education, whatever is happening on a local level, you've got to vote for that. You got to get out there and vote for that. And also, that's where our future leaders are going to come from. Anybody who has been inspired by this last election to sort of throw their hat in the ring is going to do it on a very small local level. And that's where we are starving for leadership right now in the Democratic Party. And, so I just really feel like it's so important to pay attention to those candidates and to supporting those efforts.
Does it come down to marketing? I mean, if, thinking just, off the top of my head, but I agree with everything you said 100%. So do we need to market local politics the way college athletics,
our
local,
yeah.
local politics
you could
are basically the farm team. They're the NCAA.
Same way Obama did it with how he did a grassroots type of thing. I mean, you got to get involved in the community. You have to build trust. Politicians have lost a lot of trust. That's why people don't come out and deal with them. So you have to get that. And there are people, like you said, also, find a new marketing way of getting them in there, and they will.
Also, politicians are too damn old at this point. I mean, I know that there are up-and-comers in the party, and, there are bright lights among us, like Adam Schiff and people like that. But, remember, the future of voting are the millennials. And those, how do we bring that message out to them? They're the strength of the future of the party. And I think that their politics are, for the most part, in the right place. And in that, I include, kids in the Midwest. Because kids these days they're cross-border. They're so very connected to each other over the internet. And I can't speak for all of them, but for those I know, they're very colorblind. They're very gender fluid. They take for granted things that, our generation and above have been stymied by for years.
As long as you keep that message out of when they start mixing that message of fear and they are trying to take from you, and then you got, well,
Yeah.
why are they getting it and we don't get it? And then you got